What's up, everybody? Welcome to System Covers Live. I'm David Wilson. We're back again with another Friday stream where my lights behind me are giving me real trouble. Where we usually get together as a community and talk about whatever topic I've come up with for the week, and this week is no exception, except for the fact that this light keeps going in and out, and you can really see it. Why is my screen missing? This is just the kind of things you see me deal with my weird and wonderful setups. There we go. There's a screen. I'm still missing the backlight light. This thing is really just gonna give me trouble the whole time. Look at that. It looks like we're in like an abandoned subway station or something. It just keeps flipping on and off. Could you stop? This is what happens when you buy equipment off Amazon. Whatever, I'll just leave it. Hello, how are you? Here we go again with another, no, it's not Black Friday. It wasn't a Black Friday purchase. I've had these for years. Here we go with another Friday stream where we have a number of technical difficulties, and then I complain about them for about 20 minutes before we actually get started into our content. So I apologize for the usual issues, but hey, it's part of the Friday experience, right? Okay, let me say hello to the folks who are here so far, if I get into the right window to do that. Let's see. Hello to Gunn, Peter, Glenn, Arnaud, E-Beam, Alternate Ved, Alejandro, Wax CA Tape, Dave, let's see, Eric, Cal, Jeff, and over on the YouTube side, I see Mars, Kikinzut, Mark, Roberto, Spiros. Spiros says, are you reading up on my browsing history or what? I was reading up on Howm this week. I think it's just one of those things where there's just an idea in the air for something, and we all just kind of pick up on it. I blame Jack Beatty again, because he mentioned it again on the Fediverse, and this was another case where I'm just like, okay, I really need to look into that. Where is it? I'll show you the post I'm talking about. Yeah, so Jack basically posted a screenshot of this like main screen of Howm. It's not scrolling. It's not zooming in. It zooms the entire page except for the light box. Great. Anyway, point being, it was just another little poke at my brain to make me think about this. I don't know if other people saw this on Fediverse, but that's where I saw it. Jeff says, you could have got the lights from Temu. Yeah, well, these are probably about the quality that you would get from Temu. So the headphone cable that I'm using for these headphones is from Temu, and it took about 2 months before it started shorting out, and now I could barely hear anything that's going on in here. I can't hear myself at all, and I can't hear the music. So you're probably wondering, why are you wearing headphones in that case? Well, I can hear a little bit. I need to be able to make sure that the audio is playing, but I don't need to hear all the details. I've heard these songs a million times now, so I don't need to hear them anymore. Okay, good afternoon, TGIF. Yes, I imagine it's a pretty good Friday for many people today, because it's we're going into Christmas week, and many people are on vacation starting now. So congratulations to all of you who are going on vacation. Maybe some of you are beginning your day. You're not at the end of your day yet, so just a few more hours, you'll be out. You can think about all the gifts that you still have to buy, and the children that you have to please, who probably won't be pleased because you didn't buy exactly what they wanted. Alternative said, who are you talking to? What do you mean, who am I talking to? I'm talking to you. All of you. Anyway. Kikuzu says, David Will in your walls confirmed yet again. Yes, I am spying on all of you. As soon as you join one of the streams on the channel, I'm installing malware into your computer so that I can watch everything that you're doing. And I know that some of you really want to like install Windows again. I'm really disappointed. Also, I see some of you really want to use VS Code again. I'm really disappointed. I'm joking. Okay. Eric says, Merry Christmas to all those who celebrate. Happy solstice to everybody else in that case. Yes. We'll talk about that in a minute. About the solstices, the results of the final experiment are in. What are we talking about? That doesn't sound good. That sounds kind of ominous. All right. Let's get back to the notes here. So this will be the last stream for this year, for 2024. It's been a good year, I think. You know, we had a lot of cool streams. We've had, you know, guests on the stream for the first time. Jeff, were you on the stream this year or was it last year? I can't remember. Maybe it was last year that Jeff came on the stream, but I think Jeff was the first person who actually physically appeared on the stream. And then we had Christine and Dave and Robin earlier this year, and then Christine again. So, you know, it's cool from that perspective. We had some actual people and their faces on the stream, talking and having great technical difficulties as usual. And then, yeah, a lot of other cool topics in general. You know, a lot more talking about Scheme this year. I'm not really trying to do a retrospective here. I'm just sort of, you know, riffing on the idea that it's the last stream of the year. So what is this calendar? The year's not over next Friday, is it? Okay, so yeah, next Friday. So the 27th, there will not be a stream, all right? Because I'm going to be out of town. No stream next week, December 27th. Going somewhere with the family. Going to be taking some time off from streaming and just doing general computer things. I'll probably be on the computer, but I just won't be doing the normal System Crafter stuff. So that'll be fun. But yeah, we won't have a stream next Friday. But I do want to say happy holidays to all of you, whatever holidays that you celebrate. I'm very thankful for all of you, you know, those of you who keep coming back to the streams and hanging out in the community and the IRC, the forum, etc. All of you make System Crafters what it is. I mean, if it was just me, I would just be a person talking on a stream every Friday, being, you know, feeling very lonely and having no one else to talk to on the internet. So I appreciate all of you who are hanging out and, you know, participating and being part of the community, because the community is all of us. It's not just the channel. It's the System Crafters community, you know, people who keep coming back, having fun, you know, joking with each other in the chat room, that sort of thing. So happy holidays to all of us crafters. Fronya Pola says, Gun, thank you. Fronya Pola to you as well, sir. And yeah, we'll have another stream at the beginning of 2025 where I'll talk about sort of what things I think we should focus on in 2025. I have some thoughts. I won't really go into it right now because I probably should think about it a little bit more before I start making any grand proclamations. But in general, high level, I would like to do more programming. I've been talking about Emacs a lot. I've been talking about Geeks a fair amount as well. But I think maybe we should start like crafting some stuff. You know, not just writing configurations for programs, but maybe start doing some programming too. So we'll think about that a little bit and see what that actually means for us and how that affects the streams and the videos and stuff going forward. But I think it's good. I would like to focus more on programming because, to be perfectly honest with you, through all the development of videos and courses and stuff this year, streams, I'm kind of missing programming. I haven't been doing enough programming. I need to do some more of that. So probably do some more live streaming and things like that next year, and sort of figure out what we want to do. Excuse me. Pavel says, Advent of Code and Nick's win. Well, I'm not really much of an Advent of Code person. I know there's a lot of people in the community right now going through Advent of Code. I think it's cool to do that, but I don't know. No, I'm not using Nick's OS. Welcome to System Crafters. I use GNU Geeks. This is what we do here. I think people are joking on me here. And more React content. Should I start doing React content? I don't really think I should. I don't want to add to the greater pollution of the programming content ecosystem by just doing React content all the time. I mean, it would be really easy to pull up a blog post or something and just ramble on about it. And I'm not throwing shade at anybody. It's just, it keeps coming up as a joke that I should do React content. And I don't know. I guess I am doing React content to some degree. I'm just reacting to different things, not just, you know, blog posts, React OS content. Mic details. I don't remember exactly which one this is. Sorry, I keep scratching my nose. Audio Technica AT 2030, maybe it's 2020. It's either 2020 or 2035, one of those. I can't remember exactly which one it is. I don't think it will tell me if I look at it either. But it's one of those, okay? And it's going into a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. Focusrite Scarlett, there it was right there. Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. That's the USB audio interface. So that's it. Don't do React content, please. Garlixus says, react to 20-year-old memes. I don't think I want to do that. And I was reminded of some 20-year-old memes a few days ago, and I just had to shake my head at how bad they were. Memes have come a long way. I think memes are better now than they used to be. Old memes are really lame. So let's not react to old memes, please. Back over to IRC chat side. Let's see. Soldering smells just fine. Yes, you shouldn't smell it. It does have an interesting smell, but you shouldn't smell it. Arno says, I just received a PCB for my Totem keyboard this week. I haven't seen that one. That seems pretty cool. Took action and 3D printed Gridfinity blocks to organize my soldering bits and bobs. Let's see. Glenna says, great news, more programming streams. Cool. Alternative Ed says, missed chance of streaming a couple of AOC exercises in Scheme. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, probably it would be good to do that at some point. Alternative Ed says, Rolling Stone protesting loudly against React content. Yes, that's true. No React content, HTMX content is where it's at. Yeah, I know. That's where what people are doing. HTMX apparently is meme central. I mean, I think that the library and tools of HTMX and the philosophy behind it is good, but it's too memey. I'll be completely frank with you. I don't like meme-driven content. I don't like it. I think it's a little bit... I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. It's just a little bit juvenile in a way. Not in a bad way. It's just in a way that I don't really connect with. You know, like I'm almost 42 years old. I don't really need to engage with memes as my sense of humor. I can be funny on my own, more or less, without memes. So, you know, I can appreciate a technology because of its merits, but not necessarily because it's, you know, very meme focused. So that's fine. I mean, I don't really have a problem with them doing memes, but I'm not really interested in the meme aspect of HTMX. But memes are good marketing. So kudos to the creator of HTMX for marketing his project well using memes. Cal says, I'm sorry, Faye, but I'm hooked on Scheme right now, and I'm going to say David will more Guile. Yeah, we will probably be doing more Guile. Cal says a new meme goes rank within a week. It is not evergreen. No, that's definitely true. Memes are not evergreen. Actual sense of humor is evergreen because you can make new jokes. You can be funny. You can just say funny stuff without having to have a meme to use as a crutch. I'm not saying anything about anyone right now, okay? I'm not thinking of anybody in particular. I'm just saying, like, sense of humor. It's classic, you know? Just have a sense of humor and make your own jokes. Ashra says, I'm kind of out of the loop here. We're talking about meme-driven programming ecosystems and content. Peter says, what I'm attracted to is the minimalism aspect of HTMX. The memes are a bonus. Gotcha. So, okay, just quick aside on HTMX. I think there's some interesting applications of that for having a very lightweight front end that doesn't have a whole lot of JavaScript code in there. I'm not really a big fan of the sort of built-in syntax that you have to put into the HTML attributes for certain things. Dave and I have talked about this a little bit. It's kind of weird to have like a little sub-language embedded in attribute values, but the idea behind HTMX is pretty interesting in that your server-side code can be a little bit more involved in the production of the HTML, but still have it be dynamically produced and loaded into a running web application. So it is interesting from that perspective. I don't think it is the best way to do things, but I think it is interesting. The idea of writing a Guile-based web application that uses HTMX as a front end, and then you use SXML to generate HTML fragments to send to the client to then replace parts of the UI is pretty interesting. However, now that Guile Hoot is so far along and the necessary WebAssembly features are into the latest versions of all major browsers across all platforms, including mobile, we can really be doing client-side scheme development with Hoot instead. So we don't necessarily need HTMX, and I'm actually more interested in the implications of having SXML directly in the browser for doing React-style user interfaces without React using Scheme. So don't really need HTMX. It's interesting. You know, some effort could be put into experimenting with it, but anyway, yes, I'm betting more on Hoot. Let's say, let's put it that way. Pavel says HTMX, but it's Scheme syntax. Basically, it's something like that. I think we could do that. Am I blurry? Maybe that's better now, or maybe you're just on 360p or whatever it is. 320. I don't know. Glenna says, wants to see David Will write in Chicken Scheme. Nah, I like Chicken from a technology perspective, but like I said before, names matter, and I just can't see myself using something called Chicken Scheme. I'm sorry to say, the name matters. I don't want to be saying, I'm a Chicken Scheme programmer. I can't even speak now because it just sounds so ridiculous to say it. Okay. If you have Guile, you probably could better integrate with Hoot. Yes. Cal says, set your calendars, April Fool's Day, a Chicken Scheme video. I don't know. Chicken is not cool enough. Chicken, the name is not cool enough. The technology is pretty good, I think. Don't judge the language before it is hatched. Yes. All right. What did I miss over on the other side here? Pavel says, react to Emacs documentation stream. I think we do that pretty frequently. Zan says, as an editor ecosystem polygamist, I'd be curious to know some people's workflows managing servers within Emacs. I know Tramp exists, but I haven't explored it much. Tramp is useful. But it can be flaky. But I think that if you consider the combination of DRED plus editing files remotely, having basically a remote file browser, and also doing the double pane DRED where you have 2 panes of DRED open and you can copy files between them really easily without having to go to the command line. Various things like that. Tramp is pretty interesting for a remote server management workflow, but I haven't really used it a whole lot yet. So I can't tell you like if it's the best thing to do, but I can tell you it works. It's just maybe kind of slow sometimes. All right. Wolf JB says, Jeff says, Shay is fun to say. Shay Scheme, yes. Shay is also really good technology, but I found it kind of hard to figure out how to put together an application with it, like an actual application you can distribute. All right. The next thing I wanted to mention, so that's it, right? I think I got through that. I got derailed by the HTMX meme discussion. But happy holidays to everybody. Really appreciate you all being on the streams and being part of the community this year. A lot of people have been around for multiple years. Definitely appreciate all of you. There's also some really strong community members who have joined this year who have stuck around and have played a big role. I don't want to be naming names because I'll be forgetting people, but all of you who are around all the time, I'm talking about you. You know who you are. So thank you all. Appreciate you all. And we'll try to have a lot more fun in 2025. So I will mention again, Sprightly Institute is having a fundraiser. We've mentioned it the last couple of weeks. We had Christine on the stream a couple weeks ago to discuss it. They are trying to, later in the stream, let's just get that text out of here because that's wrong. So they have a fundraiser going on, which amazingly looks like they are about 2/3 of the way complete with. They're trying to raise some money to continue the development on the various projects they have going on to build a platform for creating safer, more decentralized and distributed community-centric tech, specifically around Sprightly Goblins and Guile Hoot, or maybe they're calling it Sprightly Hoot. Maybe Dave can clarify on that. But they've been getting grant funding over the years, but they're trying to bolster some of their funding so they can do more ambitious things. So they're asking for the community to step in and help with the funding for the Institute. I really think that the work they're doing is super important for not only the future of writing decentralized distributed applications, but also for Scheme, and specifically Guile Scheme through the improvements going into Guile Scheme itself, and also through the creation of Guile Hoot. So if you are passionate about Scheme, and specifically Guile Scheme, and you want to see Guile Scheme actually be improved over time, putting some money behind Sprightly Institute is the best way to ensure that, because they are doing the bulk of the new work to push the ecosystem forward. So there's multiple tiers for sponsorship here, and you can also make a one-time donation. For those of you who have an employer who is willing to, what do you call it, match your donations to charitable organizations. Sprightly Institute is a 501c organization. Does it say it somewhere here? 501, is that the right thing? 501c3 organization. So it's a US nonprofit. So if you donate to Sprightly, make sure to ask your employer to kick in some money too, especially if your employer is a big tech company who does donation matching. They probably do it up to a limit, but you could get them to kick in a little bit. So anyway, definitely consider donating to Sprightly Institute. They've seemed to have done a really good job so far of meeting their goals. However, they have stretch goals too, and maybe you would be interested in seeing some of those get hit. Did they mention them here? Stretch? No, they don't mention them here. But I have been told that there may be stretch goals. So donate to the most interesting institute that is working on programming stuff at the moment, at least in my opinion, and help them to stay afloat so they can keep doing it for another year. Let's see, what am I missing here? Zorg says, last year when you told about plans for 2024, how has that accomplished so far? I mean, catch up update on that. Oh, it's pretty bad. I don't know, like things just keep changing and changing. What can I say? But maybe I should. Do you want me to look at that real quick? Because I'm going to be really embarrassed about all the things that didn't happen. Let's see. Year in review, area of focus. All right, so improving Geeks tutorial coverage. I did that a little bit. Write and publish one book. Not exactly. Integrating Geeks and Emacs configurations. I guess. Promote Gal Scheme and Gal Hoot for personal tool hacking. Sort of. Hosting your own services to reduce dependence on proprietary ones. Sort of. Focusing on some useful non-Emacs tools. Did not do that at all. I should do it. Looking at other Linux distributions to find an ideal secondary. I did look at Void. And I tried to install Debian, and it didn't go so well. So I still think Debian is great for running a personal server if you don't want to use Geeks for that. But yeah, doing it as a desktop distro did not go so well for me. I did install Gentoo at some point too. I can't remember if it was this year or last year, but I did go down the rabbit hole of trying to install Gentoo, and it was just too much. I would not want to recommend to someone to try to install Gentoo, just because of all the steps involved and all the decisions that have to be made to set up Gentoo. So I didn't go through with that one. Alpine is still really good. It has its own gotchas though, so I didn't really spend more time on that. Organize a more focused effort around providing community services. Now, that is happening, but it's not being driven by me. Andrew Tropin is working on something called Constown. I came up with a name. Just so you know, I came up with the name of Constown. I don't think that there's a site for it. Oh, maybe there is. Okay, Consensus Operated Network Services. So, if you want to see something about that, go check out Constown. I think that Andrew has been working on it somewhat. But yeah, we haven't really made any progress yet, and I haven't really contributed anything to that, so I can't take any credit for the work done there. That's all Andrew and whomever is contributing with him. But yeah, there's that too. But yeah, maybe we'll try to set some more achievable goals, or at least I'll try to stay on track and not get distracted. Whoops, and we're not closing Firefox. Gun says, decisions like in an adventure game. It is kind of like an adventure game. The Gentoo installation process is like a choose your own adventure, and the penalty for making mistakes is real. It's not just that you have to start over with your character because you died and you got a permadeath setting on your choose your own adventure game. You might break your computer. I don't know, maybe you won't, but I'm just trying to raise the drama level here to make a point. CMAX says, re-implement OCAPN to learn it. That's a great idea. I don't think I want to sign up for that though. Peter says, plans are useless. Planning is invaluable. Well, definitely the act of writing a plan makes you think through what parts are necessary for something, and it can be very good for elucidating your thought process. Is that right? So yes, planning definitely is invaluable. Writing is invaluable, but I'm terrible at sticking to a plan. So what can I say? Morgan says, was the main Debian issue the disk setup? Yeah. So there was two things. One was I had some issues getting an encrypted disk set up. The installer did something weird, or I just didn't understand how I was supposed to use the installer correctly to do that. And then the problem after that was that Grub apparently did not want to set up the bootloader correctly. There was some strange error that I could never uncover the reason behind. And because I think I eventually figured out how to get past it, but I was so unnerved by the fact that I had to go to such lengths to fix it that I felt I couldn't actually recommend Debian to people just because of that. Because I use encrypted partitions. I use encrypted volumes for all my laptops. I'm not going to install a system without encrypted volume. Why? Because it's freaking 2024. Like, why are we using hard drives without encryption? You know? I'm not really worried about anything, but it just seems like it's the right thing to do, right? So if you can't set up an encrypted volume smoothly and easily on Debian, then something's wrong. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe it's just the machine that I was trying to install it on, but it was pretty weird. Matthew says, Debian can be good for a desktop if you change the default and go to unstable. Went from everything broken because of a rat's nest of out-of-date stuff to something nice like Arch or Fedora. Yeah, I didn't want to use it unstable either. I was going to try to use stable and see how far I could get with it, but it didn't work so well. Jeff says, yeah, Gen 2 used to run that, but the time it took to compile things from source back then wasn't as good. And so 30 minutes later, you tried distcc and spread the compile across a bunch of lame computers, which worked, but was still slow. Compiling things, it's not so bad, but yeah, it does take time. I used to like that about Gen 2. You would run emerge update or whatever, and would just chew away compiling stuff for a while, and you would feel real good because all your software is fresh. You know, you built it on your own machine. But really, it doesn't matter that much, does it? It doesn't really matter that much to build your own software. In fact, it's kind of a pain in the ass, so why not just have it be installed for you? Geeks will try to build it for you sometimes too, but at least you can avoid that for the most part. Imreka says, the best laid schemes, oh, mice and men, gang aft agley. They go awry. That's true. Especially mine. My plans never go the way that I want them to. But I adapt. And I figure out the way to move forward. Let's see. Zerka says, did you chroot into encrypted mission volume? Can you chroot into encrypted volume? Yeah, you can. Because you just have to use crypt setup to unlock the volume, and then you can do that. All right. So we got through the Sprightly Institute donation part. So let's get on to the actual topic of the stream. And let me turn off this visible bell so that I don't get yelled at for flashbanging everyone repeatedly. Sorry about that. So today we're going to take a look at the Howm package for Emacs. Howm does stand for something. I don't remember what it is. We will look it up in the documentation in a minute. But this is a package that has existed for quite a while. From what I understand, Howm has existed for like 20 years or something. Let's see. Old tutorial, old mailing list, archives. Where is the GitHub? I'm so slow when I actually have to click something. Is there an easy way to see how long this thing's been going on? All time. It's definitely not 1800s. Let's look at 1989. Is there anything in 1989? Probably can't be, can there? Will you search it? What do I have to do? Oh, I have to click a button. Okay, fine. Jesus. Are we serious here? To today. Yeah, that's not gonna work, is it? Can I sort it? Never mind. Never mind. Okay. 20 plus years, says Jeff. I believe that. I'm not going to try to verify it. Point being, this has been a very long-running project. So why am I interested in this? Well, at the surface, Howm is a note-taking package with some task management functionality, which provides you with kind of like a personal wiki or a Zettelkasten type interface where the idea is you write smaller notes and you link them together so that you have kind of your own personal networked knowledge base. When I say networked, I mean there's nodes where there's connections between them. And you should be able to benefit from the connections between those notes for things like getting inspiration about new ideas or writing papers or other kinds of content where you have to kind of pull together different parts of your research, things of that nature. Howm has some really interesting ideas for how to do notes where you have links between them. And I kind of want to contrast that between it and Denote, because Denote is kind of my current favorite note-taking system for Emacs, the combination of Denote plus Org Mode. Now, the other interesting thing about Howm is that it actually is not based on Org Mode. It is meant to be used for text-based notes, which could either be text files, could be markdown files, or even could be Org Mode files. It has its own syntax for creating links to other nodes, and also its own syntax for tasks and the deadlines for tasks or recurrence of tasks and things of that nature. So it's not necessarily meant to be used with Org. In fact, I don't know that Org even existed by the time that Howm was created, or it wasn't really considered like a core integration, even though it does work. So it's interesting to look at a package that has existed for so long, that has its own model for doing things, but it still kind of like reflects the current state of packages like Denote or Org Roam or all the other Zettelkasten inspired packages that are popping up for Emacs. Hey, Case. So it would be interesting to take a look at this to sort of see what an older perspective on a similar idea would be, and also look at some of the interesting functionality that Howm does provide. We're going to try to get through as much of this kind of standard behavior as we can. I definitely want to talk about creating notes, linking between notes, looking at links between notes, sort of note-taking workflow. Actually, I should probably write these down. So creating notes. Come on. There we go. What we'll do. Look into these features. Creating notes, linking notes, searching for notes, creating tasks, especially with deadlines, the home screen, and general workflow tips. And we're going to use a tutorial that seems to have been created this year. I don't know how old this is, but it seems pretty new, which it's quite nice, actually. Very well put together. We'll have to look up the name of the person who made it. It's Emacs 101 is the GitHub account, but the name of the person is Sukovsky. I'm probably saying that wrong. But this person also has a YouTube channel. I believe the videos are in Russian, but it's another YouTuber for Emacs, which is great. But the document here is very well put together, very nice, and quite well written. So if you want to learn more about Howm after you watch the stream, I definitely recommend checking out this document. And that link's in the show notes. It's already up on the description there. So we're going to run through this as we go through the stream. There's also a manual and some other tutorials on the Howm website. So if you take a look at the links here, there's an introduction by Leah Newkirchen, who I believe is a developer on Void Linux and some other things as well. It's a name that I've heard around over the years. This is also a good sort of introduction to the Howm way of doing things, but I kind of feel like the Emacs 101 tutorial is much better in terms of giving you the full understanding and lay of the land when it comes to how to use Howm effectively. I'm very sorry. I have another cold or some kind of random illness striking. So you're going to have to hear me fighting with my sinuses this time. I can't fix that light. All right, so let's just take a real quick overview look at the homepage. Howm is a note-taking tool on Emacs. It's similar to emacswiki.el. You can enjoy hyperlinks and full text search easily. It's not similar to emacswiki.el. It can be combined with any format. Another interesting thing is it is possible to link to files that are not inside of the notes. So you can link to other types of documents. You can do that with Denote also. So there are a lot of parallels between Howm and Denote. I don't know if Prat saw Howm whenever he was working on Denote, or if they just sort of landed on a lot of the same ideas, but there is some similarity here. So I think it's pretty interesting. All right, so there's not much here on this page. Let's see, tips, bug reports, quick start. There's a quick start guide, but I think it really just goes mostly through configuration. So there is a config we probably should put together for this, and I'm gonna kind of take this and drop it in to my config. So let's just start with that. We'll get Howm installed, then we'll start messing around with it a little bit. So I'll go to my own configuration. Let's open up my dot files, and then I'm gonna find what file. Oh, I need to go to my emacs.org file because I got my literate config now. So Denote, where's Denote? Here we go. I'm gonna jump into this block, and then I'll put some Howm stuff in here. All right, Howm. I'll clean these. What format to use for the files? So for org mode, you might need to tweak this. It's using Markdown, at least by default, in the repository. Oh, okay. If you prefer org mode, do it this way. Okay, maybe I should just do it this way then. Let's just copy and paste, because that's how we do things around here. We just copy and paste what other people do. We'll just clean it up a little bit. I'll cut that out. I'll put this in the home folder. Home directory, home file name format, title header, date time format. Whoops. Open the Howm menu. Yeah, let's do that. I haven't seen this bind star syntax before. That's kind of interesting. Okay, so I'm going to run this, and we'll see if it works. Now, the question is, all right, so probably Howm is in Melpa. That's problem number one. I don't use Melpa, so yeah, it's in Melpa. Fine, it's in Melpa. So Howm is also in Geeks. There's an Emacs dash. Am I not using CMK to delete? No, I'm not, because I need to get better at those those bindings. So I'll turn on Melpa temporarily, but there is a Geeks package. The reason why I'm not using it right now is because the Geeks package is at Howm version 1.5.0, and there is a 1.5.1 that comes a little bit later, and it has some bug fixes. So I would rather use the latest thing rather than the one that's in Geeks. Let's just try that first. Control MK. Sure, Control MK. Fine. Control MK. Thank you. I appreciate the tip. I'm not an expert in Emacs, even though I make myself look like one. All right. So Melpa setup. I have to add Melpa just for this. That's okay, though. I'm going to take it right back out. Actually, did I just stop being an idiot and just install the Geeks package the right way? How about I just stop being an idiot? Let's do it the right way. Let's just do it live. Let's see. Home services, Emacs. If I have to do a package transform, I need to remember the syntax for that. Do I want to waste time on this? Am I going to regret it? Maybe not. But yeah, the syntax for doing package transforms is a little bit weird. I have to insert in here again. So I have to do a little bit of finagling. So, screw it. I'll do it the right way. Sorry, not the right way. I'll do it the way that will get us past this issue so we can move on to actually talking about the package involved. Yeah, Melpa stable. I don't know if it's in Melpa stable. We're just going to do it this way. So we're just going to add the Melpa packages. And then we already got package initialize done. So package refresh contents. Need to run that first to get the Melpa index. Package VC install? Maybe. Maybe I should do that, huh? All right, let's do this again. I don't think you installed it, did you? Yeah, you didn't install that. Okay. There we go. Howm installed. Howm menu. Okay, there we go. We got it installed. No problem. Is this a... What is this? A special file? Ooh. That's cool. It looks like it created a special file inside this directory that you can edit. It's kind of put a bunch of stuff in here, which is like a bunch of help text, but this looks like it might actually be the text that gets used for the Howm menu page, because it does have a section where there's stuff in here. So I don't know if I'm right about that or not, but anyway, so Howm is a couple things. One, it's a note-taking tool. You can create notes with it, and edit notes, make links between notes. Fine. You can also do task management, but it also has its own custom interface for looking at packages. Sorry, I got distracted because I saw what Case said. For looking up your notes and also looking at your most recently edited notes. There's some kind of interesting stuff in there that we'll take a look at in a second. You can also install a package in Geeks using a different Git hash. Yes, you could do that, but then I need to pull it into the profile. Let me look at the chat real quick. Purple G says David hates Melpa. I don't hate Melpa. I just don't want to use it if I don't have to. I'm trying to stay away from Melpa because it's not a default package source in Emacs. I either want to use Elpa or non-GNU Elpa. Okay. So there's nothing inherently wrong with Melpa. If there's packages you want to use on Melpa, use Melpa. I'm just trying to not use any packages that are on Melpa if I don't have to. So by that logic, I probably should actually use package VC install for Howm, because outside of Geeks, I'm not gonna have. Hey, come on! It's not elitism. It's not elitism. I'm trying to be austere. Is that the right word? I'm trying to be more contained, right? I'm using stuff that's in the box most of the time, trying not to depend too much on outside packages. It's just an exercise in self-purification. It sounds like a cult, but whatever, I'm just trying to have some fun, please. I'm not being elitist. Artisanal, sure. Benoit says, I'm just playing with a content creator. Yes. Ritter Pixel says, yeah, I'll join the cult. Yeah, we're not doing a cult here. There's no cult here. So let's not get in trouble with the authorities. But yeah, we are playing around a little bit. Okay, let's get back to it. Let's focus. Next level of cult and no packages. Yes, that would be the next level. I'll just rewrite everything I need in my own init.el file, and then that's right, alternate vet. I'm handicapping myself for your enjoyment and for your edification. I'm trying to learn how to do things without all the bells and whistles so that I can hopefully convey useful information to other people. But really, the truth is, I've been learning more from the people in the System Scrappers IRC about what to do about the internal stuff recently. So I'm just learning things from people who are around, and then I will just repeat it to you after I've had my time to take a look at it. Waxy Tape says, exercise and self-purification sounds like something out of Midsummer. I haven't seen that, but I've heard it's pretty crazy. Kay says, I've got opinions about software asceticism. Are you in favor of or not? I think one should not go too far in being a software ascetic, but I do think that participating in a little bit of software asceticism can help you to learn the old tried and true tools and not all the new shiny crap that wants your attention, but is not as battle tested as the older stuff. So I don't know. Medieval Emacs, we all need to suffer, said Carswell's Code. You don't need to suffer, but sometimes a little bit of suffering helps you to form an appreciation of the things that you have. Yes, left pad. Oops, left pad. You're not SEC copy. There we go. There we go. We got it right now. Thank you to Ashraz for helping us out here. All right, let me get back into it. We got it installed now. So we're going to go to this tutorial. I'm not going to read this to you because who wants to have a document read to them? Not me. So let me just quickly see if I can pull out the most important points to read to you so we're not going to just spend time reading. Keegan says it builds character. Yeah, it can build character. It can also make you decide to use VS Code instead. Maybe. I don't know. So the introduction is basically talking about the philosophy that they feel is what's being represented by Howm, mainly by thinking by writing, and then the sort of principles of knowledge management, like take notes on anything you can find useful, limit the length of each note to one idea, which is a very core principle of Zettelkasten. Makes it easier to construct them later in any manner. Link notes when their respective ideas engaged in a dialogue. Also, Zettelkasten, excuse me, use a reliable program that you can trust for your writing, especially when it comes to recovering the things you've written so that you don't forget about them, because that's the biggest thing I have problems with. I write a bunch of stuff in org files, either in normal org files or Denote-based org files, etc., and I just forget that I've written all this stuff. So having a system that can surface that information to you can be very helpful for continuing to develop ideas and remembering things that you need to look into. This tutorial is about such a program. Let's see. There is also a lot of stuff in this. It's almost like a book that gives you sort of the basics of using Emacs as well. We're just going to skip over all that. All right. The concept of Howm. The name Howm is an acronym for the Japanese phrase Hitori Otegaru Wiki Modoki. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, probably not. Which can roughly be translated as handy own wiki mimicry. Okay? So it basically has its own method of creating your own personal wiki, but it has some really interesting features for surfacing your information to you, especially the tasks that you need to track based on the information. Let's see. If you don't organize notes, it's wearisome to read them. If you try to organize notes, it's wearisome to write them, which is true. The need of trade-off is worrisome. Wearisome is an important keyword. There's a big difference between I can do it and I can do it easily. Let's see. Rigid structure and categorization quickly become a hindrance. I have definitely seen that for myself. If you try to come up with a really elaborate system for managing your notes or your tasks, you will stumble and you will not keep up with it unless you really like complex systems. So it's better to have something simple that actually does what you need it to do for you most of the time without you having to think too much about it. So the idea here is that Howm can do that because of the way it's designed. Howm is suitable for working. Okay. Howm's motto, write fragmentarily and read collectively, which basically means write small notes, but then be able to recover connections between notes so that you can get all the information back. Captures the essence of a good note-taking system. Suitable for working with any text files. Does not matter whether it's text, org, or markdown format. Each note in Howm is a new file that gets a unique number based on date and time it was created, which is very similar to Denote, because Denote has a specific file name format. Though I do really appreciate the file name format of Denote, as I mentioned many times before, because useful information is embedded in the file names, like the timestamp, the title, the tags, and maybe some other optional stuff that you can put in there, which makes it really useful for filtering those files down to specific notes. So that's something that is not a part of Howm, and I don't know how much it matters. Tags really aren't a thing inside of, well, LD. We're trying to figure that out as a result of this stream. So you stay and watch, and we'll see what we find. So tags are not a part of this, but I think the reason why is because the concept of tags is a way to link concepts together, link notes together, and there's already something for that in Howm through the note linking. There's two different kinds of note linking we'll take a look at, and I think that basically accounts for what you would use tags for anyway. So there are a couple different usage patterns that you could see between Denote and Howm, and maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's see. Each note in Howm is a new file that gets a new unique number. There are no tags or even links in the traditional sense. Instead of this, the creator employed a clever trick. A link serves as a trigger for a search query. Outcome is a list that contains all the notes where the link appears. So you basically click a link and it will give you a list of results of places where that link is referenced. In a nutshell, the system suggests replacing thematic information distribution with a frequency-based distribution, ensuring that the most important documents are always at hand. I'm guessing the implication being that the notes that you work on the most and that are linked most frequently are the ones that will rise to the top of your knowledge base, and you will see them more frequently. Howm follows a similar principle. It does away with the categories or sections. What time is it? Okay. Opting for a general list where notes are organized based on the date of the last edit. The date of the last edit. So you're basically having a recency factor whenever you're looking at the list of notes. Algorithm of working with information turns out to be more efficient than striving for a perfect order. Syntax may appear unusual initially. Okay. And nowadays, the public is used to the markdown format. In defense of Howm syntax, it predates this widespread adoption. So Howm is so old that it comes before markdown and other things, even like org mode. All right, so we don't care about Emacs key combos. We know these already. We also know about installing Howm. We just did it. If you don't know, you can go look at this tutorial. All right, so the first and most important thing to remember is the launch command for Howm. That's Control-C, comma, comma. Does that work here? Control-C, comma, comma. Nope. Control-C, semicolon, semicolon. All right, so I think that the default binding that we put in my configuration was no org source. Was semicolon, semicolon. I don't know if that was the way that the package was meant to be, or the author of that tutorial said it this way, but personally, I kind of like Control-C, semicolon, semicolon, because it's on home row. It's easier to hit. So Control-C, semicolon, semicolon brings up the Howm menu, which we'll look at a little bit more soon. The main menu, which functions much like the captain's bridge. From here, you can easily navigate, issue commands, and monitor various compartments of your ship. All the information does not fit in the window. You can swipe down by pressing the spacebar or swipe up by pressing backspace, which sounds a little bit different than typical key bindings. Underlined items are active. They serve as buttons. You can jump between buttons pressing tab. Basic cursor movement in Emacs is performed with the normal keys. Pressing S will initiate a search. Pressing C will create a note. Okay. So Jeff says Control-C, semicolon, semicolon is a suggestion to avoid org mode key conflicts. Thank you. So the breakdown of this view, because it looks a little bit cryptic at first. The first is the menu section, which basically gives you the hotkeys for the various things that you would want to do in this home view, which is kind of nice to see that list of possible actions, to be reminded of them. I don't know if you need to see that all the time. Maybe that could be hidden at some point. The next section includes tasks and deadlines. And the way that tasks and deadlines work in Howm is quite interesting. So we'll take a look at what that means in a little while. I'm kind of curious to use it because I wonder if it could actually help me in the way that I tend to not follow what I have to do. And then there's a recent notes list. Notes that you have created recently or edited recently are displayed here. There's also a list of random notes. So it will show you notes that you may not have looked at in a while in case you want to be reminded of different things that maybe need to be reviewed. And it sounds like that can be turned off. Then there is memos about syntax for creating a to-do list, which probably can also be removed. You can also customize the menu by going to the editing menu link. So that's something we can take a look at later maybe. So the actions that can be performed, E is creating a quick memo entry, opens a document without a template. C creates a new note. So there's two ways to create notes, it sounds like. D is note duplication, handy if you use complex templates. We'll have to look at that, see what that's about. Keyword search is with S. G does regular expression search. O opens search in the last open buffer. Instead of searching the entire knowledge base, the search will be performed in a single note. Don't really know what that's for, but there must be a way to use that. Something about the workflow of Howm must make that useful. L calls up a list of notes that you have recently worked with. A call notes in the order which they were created. Y calls up a schedule. T calls up a to-do list. B calls up the list of open buffers. K copy the title of the last note from the list of open buffers. That actually becomes part of the Howm workflow, which we'll see in a little bit. All right. Insert the date into the note. So there's some of these other actions I think are paste keywords into the last entry from the list of open buffers. What does that mean? Keywords into the last entry from the list of open buffers. Yeah, there's various different things that we might need to look at. I don't want to read all of them though. W is a random walk. View notes by following links randomly. The cycle is endless. You can stop by pressing Control G. That's kind of interesting. A way to just sort of cruise through your notes and, you know, exercise a little bit of serendipity to find things that maybe you haven't looked at in a while. Sometimes I do that with my Denote notes. I'll just kind of cruise through my notes, but I don't really... I kind of just go linearly or just kind of find things that are have interesting titles. But yeah, maybe having a way to go through things a little bit more randomly would be useful. All the commands located in the menu are also available thanks to hotkeys. They can be invoked even while working in other documents outside of Howm. Trigger them using the keyboard's shortcut Control-C, comma. Now, let's take a look at this. Control-C, semicolon, Control-H. Let's take a look at what bindings are actually in there. So capital C, create here. I, create interactively. Open named file. C is for create. E is for remember. That's the quick note thing. D for insert date. H for history. So it looks like a lot of the same bindings that we see in that main menu are in that prefix that get created already. So yeah, the Howm prefix is Control-C, semicolon. Right, gotcha. So that's something to keep in mind. All right, let's create a first note in Howm. In the Howm menu, Control-C, semicolon, semicolon, we press C. Now it created a new file, and the file name is 2024-12-20, and then there's some unique identifier at the bottom. Now we have a file that is an org file, and if I start typing things like this is a heading, I don't know, and I save it, it didn't actually... Is it org mode? Because it doesn't look like org mode to me. Yeah, kind of weird that it didn't activate. I think I saw an error there about org font lock hook. I have no idea when that actually threw something, but we'll have to take a look at that. So there's an org timestamp here, and then there is an arrow, 3 arrows, and then a link to the 000 file. I think that's a link to the root menu file. We'll have to see. Eric says the unique identifier is actually the time, hour, minute, second. Thank you. That makes sense. All right, so we have a file open, and Howm headings are labeled with an equal sign. Well, that's if you don't use org mode. The date and time the document was created. Today's date would be highlighted in orange. Not in this case because we're in org mode. Maybe we should have done it with a more traditional setup first and compare it with org later. Unique identifiers for note is the numeric name. The heading can be the same for 2 different notes. Okay. Does the heading matter? That's what I wonder. I guess we'll find out in a second. After you've written your first note, save it, and then go back to the main menu, and you'll see that it appears in the recent list. So Control-C, semi, and then we see recent. This is a heading. Okay. There's a bunch of headings in here. Done is the end. All right, so any headings in a file apparently come up as an entry in the recent list. That's kind of interesting. So also, what's on the menu here? Oh, the menu's at the top. Okay, so these are all headings. That's kind of interesting. This is a heading, is where we came from. It does not load up the file correctly, though. I wonder what's going on with that. That's fine, though. We can deal with that later. So to return to a note from the main menu, move the cursor to the corresponding line in the recent section and press return. As you write your first note, you may be visited by ideas that further develop the topic. It's tempting to write them immediately, turning the text into an endless that note about the idea that you had, but maybe instead turn it into a new note. So while you're still in the first note, create another note using the same command. Control C, semicolon C. I just reloaded the page apparently. Yeah, we gotta go all the way back. How bad is that killing the stream? Right here. Okay. I think it was this page. All right, Control C, comma C. So we're in this file. I want to create a new note. Control C, semicolon C. All right, so now they created a new note, but that note has actually been linked to the previous note. So linking syntax. There's some audio desync. Was it while I was scrolling? Is it fixed now? So linking syntax. Let's talk about that for a second because it matters. 3 arrows represent a link to something. So what would you call those? Right angle brackets. So 3 sequential right angle brackets represent. Cool, thanks. Represent a link to something. 3 left angle brackets represent some other kind of link, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I think the problem we're having right now is that the error we get when we go into an org mode buffer is preventing us from getting those links to show up correctly. Howm mode. Howm mode. Yeah, the links are not actually working, which is very strange. Font lock book. It exists. I feel like we kind of need to switch to text files just to fix this issue, or Markdown. Markdown can work. So maybe if we go back to the suggested Markdown config, just for the sake of having this work the way it's supposed to. Yeah, if we try this instead. Let's go back to my Emacs.org file. I need to go to the org source. So just for now, we're going to reset these. The dtime format, I'm going to have to put it back to what it was before. Can I just make that nil? That's going to break things probably. Maybe I'll go to the definition. xref. Which is the right command for that? No. There we go. Howm dtime body format. Let's just do this real quick. And we will set the file name format. We'll set the header. We'll just go with Markdown for now. Why not? And then we'll leave the Howm prefix the way it is because it's already been set up. So that should do it. Just get these out temporarily. Okay. Hey, Steven, nice to see you. Happy holidays to you as well. Oh, wow, you installed Geeks. That's great. I'd be happy to hear how that went for you with the specific things that you have to do in your day-to-day workflow. All right. So, hello to Julian and Gaia. So let's see. Let's get back to creating a note. I can use, well let's create a new one. Control C, semicolon C. Is it a Markdown file? Oh, I never set the heading correctly. Did it do the same error again? Hold on. Something's wrong here. There's some error that keeps showing up. JIT lock function. Let's just check out the repo because there's something really weird about this. Nobody has seen this before. Is this a me problem? Font locking lost. No. Did I do text mode? I don't know. I don't want to like waste time on this, but it's really strange that it's giving me trouble right now. How about this? Toggle debug on error. And we'll run this again. So is it markdown mode that I need to do, or Howm mode? Howm mode. So let's see. Howm mode, Howm initialize buffer, cheat font lock fontify. So markdown match YAML metadata begin. That function exists. Is it that it bytecode compiled before something was loaded that needed to be loaded and now it's kind of busted? I really don't want to have to look into that. Just trying to think about how we can get through this. The reason why I need to, what are your current font lock keywords in that buffer? Do you have a command for me? Because I can't remember. The reason why we need this to work is because the links in the buffer will not work correctly. Otherwise, I think all the other functionality will work, like searching across files and stuff will work, but it's a little bit strange that it's giving us trouble at the moment. Because it would be a link like this, and also dates would be linked correctly and highlighted correctly, which they are not right now. Font lock keywords, thank you. Control HV font lock keywords. And what are we looking for? There was an error, a specific error. No, Control HE. Markdown markup face. Yeah, there's stuff in here. All right. Really strange that it just chokes on that like this. Is there a way to keep the package from being bytecode compiled? Is there a, oh, no byte compile? Is there something in use package bytecode? Byte compiling. Yeah, I don't do the byte compilation of the init file. Maybe should I go back and just reload the contents? Find library. What's in here? Okay, there's a few things in here. Maybe Howm mode. Is there a Howm mode file? There's a bunch of stuff. Howm mode.el. So what if I do this? Eval buffer. Now if I try to go back to that file and do Howm mode again, I'm just trying to defeat the issue. Nope, same problem. And that came from, looks different this time. Howm initialize buffer. That's Howm mode.el, okay. That's weird. Okay, let's skip that for now. Let's just get on into doing what we need to do. I think that the core functionality will work once we get into it. So let me check the chat real quick. Kay says, you're a special boy, David. I don't know what that was in reference to. Okay, so test heading. This is in a markdown file. Okay, we got one heading here. I wonder if it works with multiple level headings. Foo bar baz. Control C, semicolon, semicolon. Hey, that's not good. Let me, oh, maybe none of them are working, actually. That would be really weird. That would be really weird if none of them worked. But I think that's what's happening. Okay, are those links now? No. Control H-E. I'm looking to see if there are errors. So this could have been from opening the buffer. Yeah, font lock, fontify keywords region. I'm a little concerned about that. There's some function that is showing up as Matthew says set queue load prefer newer. Use newer code than old bytecode. Well, I don't know if it will work in this case. I'm gonna call an audible on this. If I do that, I'm gonna screw up the What if I can't do it that way either. I need to have it set up the right way. Control Shift. It's not gonna either. Oof. Okay, that ain't right. Just trying something different. It's not working. Yeah, this is all screwed up. I think it's just because of that stupid font lock issue. Is it an Emacs 30 thing, potentially? Is that why we're having issues here? Yeah, I did that. I went into the package source file and I used a val buffer and it didn't fix anything. In fact, it basically did nothing. Find library, Howm mode, eval buffer. Okay, so I'll go back into this markdown file, Howm mode, I'll turn it off and then back on, and then it's giving me the markdown match YAML metadata begin issue. Start to refresh Emacs, I would like to. Let's see if I can open my terminal the correct way for this. Config, sway, config, let's go to the bottom. I'm launching foot a certain way to get this configuration. Foot command, Emacs in W, foot command. All right, here it is. Is that just it? Maybe that's what I was doing. Emacs in W. Okay. So is that the same font size? Not really. So let's try Control C, semi. Okay, yeah. The reason why that's not working is that I didn't actually Control CVT. Let's go back to org source and make sure we close that so that it updates the document correctly. Control CVT. And then back here, we'll exit and run Emacs again. I know this seems ridiculous what I'm doing right now, but we'll get there. This seems to be working now. Now, I saw an error pop by, but maybe it's fine. Maybe it actually is working. So if I were to go into Howm / one of these files, and org takes forever to load, that seemed to work. At least org mode loaded. The link to the file did not work though. Let's check out the markdown file. Well, it's loading as a markdown file. The date format is wrong. I think that's a problem that was caused by the Emacs config that I'm using. That file is Emacs. Sorry, folks. We'll get back to it in a second. Howm. How did I screw up the date format? Because that's an org date format. Oh, is that because of the... Okay. We'll create a new file. Control C, semicolon C. There we go. Now we got links working. All right, so this is a test file. I don't know. Howm might give you trouble on first install. I'm just going to have a little note called that. All right. So starting a fresh Emacs did help on this. Control C, semicolon, because that's what I have it bound to. Now, we have recent. How might give you trouble on first install? Sure, we got that. Also, I think they put the day's date as kind of highlighted in orange, and then other dates are highlighted in a different color, which is kind of interesting. Might be useful for kind of seeing what things were created today. Now, let's get back to the documentation here and see what else is interesting to try after we did that. Notice how the new note template is slightly different. Link to the previous note appears next to the date. And do we see that here? Yes, it's linking to the previous file. So whenever you create a new note in a file using Control-C, comma or semicolon, then C, it creates a new note, but it immediately links back to the previous note and has a timestamp to say when the file was created. While in one note, create another note. Howm creates a link between them. Handy feature for associative thinking. If you don't need the link, you can use undo immediately, and it will remove that link from the file. All right, so now we're back on track, I think. If you change your mind about creating a note at all, use undo again. Well, that doesn't seem like it would work because it would just leave you with a blank buffer, but maybe I'm wrong about that. All right. At some point, you have a lot of notes. How do you find the right one? So now we're going to look at how to get listings of all your notes. Commands for calling recent notes. Switch Howm into a dual Windows screen. This interface is central to the majority of interactions with notes. So it's kind of like notational velocity. I don't know if you ever used notational velocity before. That was a pretty popular program many years ago. There's probably other programs like it, but it's kind of like a two-pane program where you have a listing of all your notes that makes it really easy to search across them at the top, and then the actual note contents at the bottom. So I think this is inspired by that, or maybe that's inspired by this, who knows? So you have a listing of all the notes with their actual titles displayed, and then you have the actual note contents. So how do we get there? From the main Howm menu, the note list can be accessed using the commands A for all, L for recent, A for around. So if we were to go back to Control-C, semicolon, hold on, Control-C, semi, and we press A for all, now we have this note listing here. And as we navigate through with Control-N, Control-P, it actually loads up the note details. And it seems to be in a preview window. This is not actually loading up a buffer for the file. So that's kind of nice so that you don't end up with a bunch of file buffers open for things that you don't really need to look at. So I'll jump into one of those files and it will load it up legitimately. Then we can go back into that buffer and start moving around again, and it will still give us this sort of preview display. So what I'm doing is going into the Howm listing, using Control-N, Control-P, standard Emacs key bindings to move between lines, and it's automatically showing the contents of a note in this little preview area at the bottom. So another way to look at notes is by pressing L for recent, which gives you a recent note listing. I'm not sure exactly what the parameters are for searching what recent notes are, but apparently you can do that. And then A for around. Now, I'm curious to see what that's all about. You don't have to visit the main menu to access that. You can use Control-C, semicolon A to get to that list. So at any time, you can pull up your list of all notes. Control-C, semicolon A will give you the list of all notes, right? So you can use, you can even use N and P to go through the list. You don't have to use Control. That's nice. Let's see. You can use the Tab key to move to the next line. Sure. If you want to jump to the bottom window, press Return. You go back to the upper list using Control-X-O, which is other window. Sometimes you want the opposite note preview window and a clear overview of the list of notes. You can close your bottom window by pressing 1. Okay, sure. If you press 2, it comes back. You can switch back and forth by pressing V. Oh, okay, sure. Like a toggle button. They're arranged, the notes in that listing are based on the order of last edit. So the files you have recently worked with will be at the top, which is kind of useful, I think. You can also count the number of notes you have by using Control-XL in that buffer, because it's basically just using the normal lines, counting the lines in the buffer using the Emacs functionality. Quickly navigate the notes. You can use Control-S to search notes, just normal iSearch. Let's see. With this command, Howm will display notes created or edited within the last 7 days. All right, that's what the recent notes are, last 7 days. If you need a longer list, you can request arbitrary numbers of days by using Control-U and then a numeric prefix argument, like 20, to ask for 20 days. That's kind of nice. Makes it really easy to get to that. A round in the main menu brings up a list of notes sorted by date of creation. When in an open note, you can query the same list. The difference is that the list will be contextual, centered on the current note. So basically, it will give you a listing, but it will focus on the current note that you were in the buffer for and show the notes that are around it. So that might be kind of useful for getting context about what you were writing at the same time that you were writing another note. So that's maybe another way to sort of get some context around particular ideas. What if you want to see all the notes entered into the database today? You use Control-C, period. So if I were to get back into the listing, or Control-C, period. All right, these are all the things that are today. I don't know why I changed the highlight on those, though. That's kind of weird. Keep in mind, Howm will display only the list of created notes. Edited notes are not counted in that specific case, okay? If you use links to a numeric file name, the list will also include old notes linked to today's notes. You place a cursor on the date in square brackets in the note heading and press return, the mini buffer dialog will appear. Okay, so it gives you like a little prompt at the bottom. I think you can actually change the date there. Press return again to evoke the list of notes associated with that date. What was it? Return and return. You see all the notes that are on that date. That's kind of nice. Ketem says, is that I3 you're using? No, this is Sway. To see a list of notes created yesterday, type the command Control-C, colon. That's interesting. Notes created some number of days ago. You can use prefix argument again for that. Once you invoke the list of notes for a particular date, you can navigate back and forth using special keys, which goes backwards by day, month, and year. So you can kind of go back and forth in time, it sounds like, inside the note lists, which is cool. All right. I'm not going to look at this too much. You can change the sorting of notes whenever you're in the listing. Now, I think this might be useful. If you're trying to find something maybe, or maybe look at your listing of notes a different way to get other insights, but I can't really think of a good example for that right now. All right, working with links. Let's talk about links because they're a core component here. A knowledge system is more than a collection of notes. It's a network of references between them. These connections are implemented through hyperlinks. The mechanism of their operation is not quite ordinary. That's a bold claim. You don't instantly jump from one text to another. By moving the cursor to the link and pressing return, you initiate a search. That is actually different than what you would normally see. Normally, you would just jump to that specific link. The screen divides into two parts. The upper part, which shows the search results, and the lower part previews the note on which the cursor is in the list. The intermediate stage allows you to examine other links to the target note. That is kind of an interesting implication. So, if you go to this link and press enter, it gives you a file listing. You get the file itself, but you also get any files that are linking to that file. So you can use the preview keys up and down here to go inspect places where that file is linked to in other files. So it is actually a way you can get a really quick overview into the other files. It's kind of like backlinks. Whenever you're using Org Mode or Denote, there's a way to call up the backlinks for a particular file. This is kind of the opposite direction, I think, where you have a link to a file, and when you click on that link, you get a listing of all other things that link to that file. So it's almost like backlinks to a link. But I think that would be pretty useful for if you're going to go to a link anyway, you might want to know what other context is around that particular link. If you're linking to a specific note that is about a concept, then it might be useful for that reason. So the syntax of links in Howm is extremely simple. There are two special signs for links. There's, like I said before, the right angle bracket arrows and then the left angle bracket arrows. They produce different outcomes, so that we should consider them separately. I think the author here is calling them a spruce sign, which I think is a pretty cool name for that, but I don't know if that is what the creator of the package is calling it, but spruce sign is kind of cool. In front of a word or phrase creates a link. Better add a space character for better readability. So apparently you can just use the spruce sign itself to create a link. I think that the note does not have to exist. You can just kind of do that yourself. And this is a way that you can kind of create tags in a sense. So if I were to go in this file, I could say arrow, 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 Emacs. Okay, I'll save the file. If I click Emacs, it will bring me to a buffer that has Emacs as the thing being searched. But if I go create another note that references Emacs, so let's say Control C. Well, let's go to the home page. Control C, yeah, C. So system crafters videos. I don't know. Usual topics, Emacs. I don't know if that's the way that you would want to do that, but that's something we can do right now. I click on Emacs. Now we see that there are 2 entries for Emacs in this listing, and you can go through that listing, system crafters videos and Emacs. So you almost have a tag listing right there. You can kind of think of that as tags. And the interesting aspect of this is that whatever this Emacs is, it's not a note file. It's kind of just a piece of information that creates connections between notes. So I don't have an Emacs note. I just have this Emacs tag here, effectively, with this link that is represented by these multiple files. So we'll think a little bit more about the implications of that in a minute. So anything on the line to the right of the arrow symbol will be interpreted as a link search trigger. Therefore, you need to start a new line to continue regular text after the link. Okay. To create a link to a heading, simply write it after the arrow, arrow, arrow sign. It's easier to do this from the target note. So you can actually have a note with that name. So let's create a note called Emacs. Let's go. We could do it from here, but maybe let's do it from the main menu. I don't know if it's the best way to do it. C for new, Emacs. All right, so we got one called Emacs now. If I go back to this listing and press enter here, we can see that there is an entry for Emacs. There's a main file heading for Emacs here, and there's also the links to it. I don't know if it sorts it based on the date or the fact that this is actually the heading for Emacs, but it is what it is. So we see now that there actually is a file named Emacs. We can get back to that, but we can also see all references to Emacs as a concept. And we're still not linking back to that file itself. I think that the individual locations here are not linking to a file called Emacs. They're just linking to the concept Emacs through these arrows. And then there just so happens to be a file with the heading, which is sort of the title of the file, being Emacs in that sense. So go back to Control C, semicolon, semicolon. And yeah, we see there's a note called Emacs, there's a note called System Crafters Videos, etc. So that's kind of interesting. Any thoughts on that? Any questions on that from the live audience? Let me go back to this page here. Fallen Spruce. Peter says, the fact you can create links before the target exists is a genius feature. I do not understand why this has not become a universal expectation. Well, it definitely, in the way that it's done like this, it means that you can really easily create connections between notes without having to do anything special. You just invent a new connection at any given moment by the name that you give it. So, and as I said, that link can be any text. So if we go back into these files, I can say system crafters, and that is a link itself into anything referencing to system crafters. And it looks like it even pulls up that heading that says system crafters videos. So that's kind of nice. It just makes it a search that searches across all these things. What if I do this too? System crafters forum. Now, if I search for system crafters, does system crafters forum show up? And it looks like it does. So that's kind of interesting too, because if you use prefixes effectively, then you might be able to create sort of hierarchies of tags or concepts in a way. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. I don't really know. If I search for System Crafters Forum, it only finds things that says System Crafters Forum. So maybe that's pretty useful. That could be pretty useful, actually. I could see how that would be a way to quickly call up everything around a particular topic, so long as you're using the right prefixes. What it says here, to create a link to a heading, simply write it after the arrow sign. It's easier to do this from a target node. Press Control-C, basically the prefix key, capital K to copy the heading, and then go to another note, type the arrow sign, and then just paste the heading in. So in this document, I'm going to press Control-C, semicolon, capital K, yank the title, and I'll go into another note, like this one here, and I'll type arrow, arrow, arrow. Now, I'm just going to paste it because all it did was copy that text. Arrow, 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 paste, right? So there's that. We'll run into this later, but I want to just say it because it will save us some time. Check out some bracket, System Crafters videos, bracket. You can actually do inline links like that as well, and I think it functions just the same way. Oh, is that going to the note? Why is this arrow here like that? That's interesting. Well, let's click that and see. Why did it do that? Did it edit that file? Oh, that's a different thing entirely. Why did it do that? So I have one called System Crafters Videos. And it created another one. All right. That was pretty unexpected. I can't explain that yet, but maybe we'll get to why that's the case. I keep hitting some button that brings me to the end of the document here, and that's kind of annoying. Let's see if I can get to a table of contents. Working with links. All right, so we got the copy heading. They say there's some way to make this like really quick. So yeah, you place a cursor on the link and press return. You'll be forwarded to the split in two screen. Here you'll see a note with a link arrow, 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 and another note with a title. In fact, Howm displays a list of all files where the phrase scope of philosophy occurs. Listing includes all notes that contains this phrase anywhere, whether they are headings or just mentions. So I wonder if it actually, you don't even need to. What if I say, I'd like to watch some System Crafters videos and go back. Oh, did it actually just highlight that automatically? It recognized it? Apparently it did. I'd like to watch some System Crafters videos. So maybe you don't even have to link anything on purpose. They come from System Crafters. Ah, okay. That's part of the other type of linking. We'll get to that in a second. That's something you have to do on purpose. Okay. Use a numeric file name. We already did that. Oh, you can link to a specific file name. Sure. You could do that if you want to, but maybe you don't want to. Maybe that's a little bit more restrictive than linking to concepts. But I think that the idea is that if you have a link to a specific file, you will see any other file that links to that same file, which is kind of interesting. Okay. And there's also the idea that you can link to a specific type of file, or sorry, a file that is not part of the notes itself. It could be a file to anything, a path to anything. So for instance, watch this. Arrow, 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 .files/emacs.org. I can click that and then be brought to a listing of things that you can see the actual file itself or the anything that links to it. So if I were to go to another document, let's say this one here, my .files are here. Arrow, 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 .files/emacs.org. So it could be a link to anything. It's sort of a concept in a way. So now there's a couple of references to that here. That's kind of interesting for organizing other types of information. Like maybe you want to link to a PDF file. And then once you have a link to that PDF file in your notes, you can also see other notes that have linked to that same PDF file. Okay. Let's skip ahead a little bit. Where is the other kind of link? Keywords. What's the purpose of the other arrow direction sign? This is also the prefix for a link, but with different properties. Spruce pointing to the right symbolizes a transition from the current note to another note. The link leads from here. It's a go-to link. So the right arrows are to go to something else. Spruce pointing to the left has the exact opposite meaning. You don't want to go anywhere. You want all other notes with the keyword to lead here. This is the come from link. Anything after the arrow sign will be treated as a link. So in order to continue with regular text, you must start a new line. So let's see how it works with a concrete example. So we have a arrow for Horatio here, because we're listing characters in Shakespeare's Hamlet. And then anywhere else in your notes that you write the word Horatio, you don't have to do anything to make it a link. It'll actually turn into a link back to that location. I wonder how that is useful. I mean, sure, it could bring you back to a specific note, but would you want to use that a lot? Or is there a very specific type of thing you would want to use it for? Trigger for a search query. The note with a come from link is always at the top of the list. You only have to press return to jump to it. Thus, by placing your cursor on the underlined word and pressing return twice, you're immediately taken to the address node, okay? Links in Howm have one more interesting and beneficial feature. You can specify an alias for a keyword, a list of synonyms or similar concepts. So you can put things in order like this. Once you've created the chain like this, all specified items and other notes will lead to this particular memo. The search list will combine the results for all 3 words. Okay. Come from links can perform a similar role to tags. So the go-to link, while it can function like a tag, apparently this is the one that they actually want you to use for tags. What if you don't want all mentions of a word, only specific notes? Use some sort of sign in front of the word, and Howm will search for the specified variant. Okay, so you can use your own tag syntax, like the hash mark. You want to work with some documents where tags are indicated by a hash, use intuition. That might be actually kind of a good way to do it, because then you know for sure if you're in a document. Like, let's say I want to do this, arrow, Emacs. Now Emacs is has a list like that. All right, fine. Now anywhere else that I write Emacs, if I go over to this other file, I can say Emacs. Oh, I think there's some other step I have to do for that to work. It's not dynamically converted to a link. How needs to report changes to the text. You can say the note or press the command Control, R. Oh, okay. It did actually wake up at some point. Okay, so if you write hash Emacs, it does actually turn into a link. So you can put basically tags in your notes by doing that, which is kind of interesting. But it does send you, does it send me back to the listing or to the search results? Okay, it goes to the search results. So, I mean, what you could do is for certain kinds of categories of stuff for your notes, you could have a listing of tags that you're defining. If you go to the actual place where the tag is defined using the arrow syntax, maybe you have some contextual text around it that explains how that tag is meant to be used. And then any real instance of that tag in your notes is going to be used to call up a search query like this one here, where all the places where that tag is typed are going to show up in context. In fact, I think you can even do that like, where was that? This video is about Emacs, right? So if I go back to that search query, you see this video is about Emacs. You can kind of see the tags in context to other things as well. So sometimes you might want to write them as tags. Sometimes you might want to write them as concepts that have their own word. So there's multiple ways to do that. Does that make sense? And I think this is also where that square bracket link thing comes in as well. Yeah, square bracketed links like a wiki. Advantages of square bracketed links are a little bit different. You create a link when you click, when you click on the link, it creates a note if it doesn't already exist. So you're kind of creating the, note, and it goes straight to the note. So you're kind of creating conceptual notes in that case. The link does not require its own line. Text looks more compact. Disadvantages are such links only work well with note headings. However, numeric links are more reliable and versatile. Note headings will be accumulated in a Howm keys file, which is reserved for indexes and tags. I don't know if this will affect system performance, but keyword search will definitely be more difficult. So I think what they're saying here is maybe don't do this for note headings, because if you do it for every note heading, you're going to end up with files that are sort of like caches of these keys, and they're going to get too big. You want them to not be so big so that whenever you open a new file, it's not constantly searching for all the possible keys that would show up there. So maybe you should use these only for indexing and categorizing information. Search functions. Let's see if this is worthwhile. Because I want to talk. Ooh, how much time? Okay, we got 15 minutes left. I kind of want to talk about the task management stuff as well. So you can search across notes. That's cool. Great. Filter functions. You can narrow things down in the note listings. That's cool. Deleting notes. Sometimes you need to delete a note. Okay. Stitching notes. It's possible to read notes in a merged form as a concatenation. So you can create a new buffer that pulls together all things that are linked together. Okay. That's probably worth reading. We're not going to get to that, though, because we need to look at some other stuff. Handling long notes. In some cases, you might require a long text rather than a short entry. If lengthening cannot be avoided, at least break up the material with separate headings. Each note in Howm starts with a heading. However, you can include additional headings in the text, and those will all show up as individual items in the search listing, which could be useful. But I think the idea is that you shouldn't do that. Okay. One thing we haven't looked at yet is that reminder aspect. What was the whole reminder thing about? So there's E, remember. Remember the milk. Control-C, Control-C. Okay. I see. So it just basically allows you to create a brand new note. Remember the milk. Okay, so it's kind of like org capture in a way. You can just kind of write down a thought, have it create a new note, and then go back to it later maybe and expand on that some. So that could be interesting. Mark says, can the searching be done by a vertigo? Maybe. But probably not, actually. I think it's all done by their own interface. Okay. Ha. Gunn says, good that they did not use 4 angle brackets for the links. Try this with get. Yes, 6. Yeah, because you have, merge conflict markers. That would be kind of problematic. All right. Working with buffers. Sure. You can look at the buffer list, but you can also look at all note buffers, I think. Control-C, comma, space will bring you to the last document that was opened outside of Howm mode. It's kind of like a, what is it? Gunn says, is there also the Zettelkasten's concept of fleeting and permanent notes? I think that it's kind of all fleeting in a way, because every note, notes don't have inherent titles other than just what the first heading is in the note. So they're kind of all fleeting in a way. But maybe I'm misthinking that a little bit. Sure, I don't really care about that too much. Oh, quick notes. When writing one entry, an idea for another comes to mind. You don't want to interrupt the flow state, but you also don't want to miss the insight. Howm has a quick note function for such situations. Purpose is to create a simple prompt on a topic you want to develop later without getting distracted for a long time. In practice, it's just an empty note with a title and date, something you want to remember. Press E to remember. Howm will open an additional completely blank window. There will be command hints in the mini buffer. Ideas here haven't been registered in the knowledge base yet. If you decide they're unwanted, Control-C, Control-K, move a note into the knowledge base. Press Control-C, Control-C. Howm will create a file with a new numeric note name. Okay, so you basically write whatever you want, and then it gets turned into a note with that text. You can do this by changing the settings globally. Enter the following line in Emacs file. Now the text of a quick note will be placed in the body instead of the heading. So it looks like you can change the template that's used for the quick notes. Howm template. That doesn't seem right. Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. That's a template that's used to create a new note. All right. Duplication. You can duplicate notes, apparently. You can make buffers have the name of the heading. That's cool. That's fine. Time management concept. Let's talk about this real quick because it's really important. I think it gives you another angle into why Howm is kind of interesting. Because it's not as elaborate as Org Mode. This is completely separate from what Org Mode does for time management. So if your knowledge base becomes an everyday tool, it makes sense to manage your intellectual work or even all your tasks right there. Howm provides a system of flexible scheduling designed to help disorganized people. The idea is to turn chaos to your advantage instead of fruitlessly trying to eradicate it, which sounds like it could be great for people with ADHD. Because managing a system of tasks can be a challenge sometimes if you have to spend a lot of time categorizing and organizing your tasks based on project, etc. If you can just dump a bunch of tasks somewhere and then have it remind you of those tasks without thinking too much about it, then it's actually kind of better in a lot of ways. All right. Wasting time on categorization proves to be counterproductive. So the creator abolished the idea of importance and instead implemented a list based on seasonality. The metaphor signifies that reminders will catch your eye at the appropriate time. So let's see, where is the explanation for this? Because it's kind of interesting how they visualize it. You can use lists with schedules, deadlines, to-do, reminders, and deferrals. Dates are assigned to all tasks and events, but interpreting these dates differs. The to-do date marks the beginning of a time frame for a task. The beginning of a time frame for a task. So when you want to start working on that task. Deadline marks the end of the task completion period when it's due. Schedule specifies the exact day for an event or task. So like someone's birthday, etc. There are two additional very smart options. Reminders assist in retaining crucial information over a specific period. There's also a feature integrated that enables forgetting. The entry gradually moves down the list and disappears from sight. Ooh. What if you need to recall some information after a while? You can use the deferred function for this purpose. The entry will cycle in and out of your line of sight. So it gives you a few different levers to pull for being reminded of information or things that need to get done. A quick overview of the plans is possible in the main menu of Howm. A list of to-do, reminders, etc. is generated. Howm extracts this data from the notes so you don't have to worry about where you wrote it down. It won't get lost. The list in the main menu is not exhaustive. It has a depth of 50 items and covers a 7-day schedule. But that's a point to keep it out of sight. Keep out of sight the tasks that belong to another season. So basically, they're trying to show you automatically the things that are most relevant to you. So the creator employs the imagery of tasks syncing, moving to the bottom of the list, and tasks surfacing, moving to the top of the list. That's kind of an interesting way to look at it. This enables you to easily identify what is currently relevant, as it will always be at the top of the list. The unnecessary sinks while the essential ones stay afloat. The buoyancy of each item is dynamically calculated based on the item's properties and the current date. A higher value indicates a higher priority. List of tasks is structured in a manner that buries all upcoming items at the bottom. The order among the drowned items is meaningless. It just keeps them out of sight unless you have a very short list. As the designated day draws near, the items exhibit varying behaviors. So for something scheduled, it's visible on the list 7 days ahead of the date that it's scheduled for. Overdue events are drowned the next day, meaning they just completely fall off, it sounds like. quite sensible as you don't need a reminder of a concert that took place yesterday. So a scheduled event is only used for something that happens on a specific day, and then after that day, it just disappears from your view. It does make sense because, like it says, if the event already happened, there's no reason to see that entry anymore. And he provides very useful little graphs to show when the task will be shown. Special syntax for denoting different types of plans with mnemonic cues. It's a little bit too late in the evening for me to be saying mnemonic, but here we are. So the syntax matters for what we have in these to-do items. So basically, it's like a timestamp string with a character or multiple characters after it, and then the text for the to-do item, effectively. That's how they look in Howm. It's not like how they look in Org Mode, by any means. Deadlines. Until there are 7 days left before the target date, the task will be at the bottom of the list. Next, the task immediately moves to the middle, ensuring visibility. That's 7 days beforehand. On the due date, the task emerges at the top and remains there even after the deadline is passed. So it will stay there after the deadline is passed. So if something needs to get done by a certain date, you don't want to forget about it the day after that it's supposed to be due. You want it to show up there. To set a deadline, place an exclamation mark after the date in square brackets. All right. To-do stays at the bottom of the list until the appointed date. Once that date arrives, it immediately moves closer to the middle for better visibility. Over the next 7 days, the to-do gradually floats toward the middle and then higher and higher. This implies that the topmost items on the list will be the oldest to-do. So that's kind of nice. For things that you created, minimum. Yes, Robert, we're having trouble here. For things that you need to do, you set a date, which is the date that you want to start sort of remembering to do them. And then gradually over time, the priority of that to-do increases because you probably need to do it the longer into the future you haven't done it yet. So that will gradually remind you more and more. And things that are older that you haven't done yet will be higher up on the list. So it is kind of nice for you to have that as the way that things are shown to you, because you don't really need to know about that task tomorrow unless it's super high priority. Then you probably should set a deadline. Otherwise, it sort of just gets thrown into your backlog of tasks, and then the things that are either more urgent or haven't been done yet and need to be done at some point will show up first, right? So it gives you a way to sort of cycle the tasks that you need to deal with over time. Reminders. A reminder remains at the top of the list until the due date. So a reminder is something that is always at the top, it sounds like. On the appointed date, it appears in the middle of the list and then syncs a little each day. So it's almost like you have a note, something that you need to go back and do again later. Like maybe review something, review a note. You want to be reminded on a particular date to review that thing. But if you don't happen to do it that day, it will still show up in your list, but it will gradually go away so that, like, if you just never really get around to it, you won't be bothered by it again. Other things will take higher priority. So it does have seems to have some value for a way to remind you of something without really being too naggy and getting in the way of the other stuff that you really need to pay attention to first, right? All right. Use a minus sign to set a reminder. Okay. The author says, I never actually set future dates for the reminder. I just use it with the today's date for random things I hope to do, and then let most of them sync since obviously the sum of them exceeds my capacity. So usually with the reminders, you can just create one that is marked with today's date and then let it decay on its own. But I think there's ways to find those eventually. Defer function moves an item into the vicinity of the middle zone, specifically blah, blah, blah. It takes 15 days for the item to reach the middle zone. After that, the item gradually sinks back to 14. This process of floating and diving is cyclical, meaning the deferred task oscillates within the middle zone within 30-day intervals. So basically bobs up and down in the list. And it might make certain tasks appear to you on and off over time if you haven't taken care of them yet. So it gives you more chances to be reminded of them effectively. Best to avoid using the defer function for repetitive tasks. There's another option for that later. Think of it as repetitive reminders. Understanding the concept of prioritizing categorizing tasks can be challenging due to its abstract nature. Howm offers a special simulator that allows you to witness all of these principles in action. So you can run Howm simulate to do, so it will show you the importance ranking of tasks and also the order that they will show up in on a specific date. So if you want to kind of see how your task is going to be shown to you on a specific date, you can use the simulator to check that out. Date changing simulator that allows users to pretend they are in the past or future. So I can try to run that right now. Howm, whoops. Where am I? Here we are. Like watering the plants. Yes, Peter, I think maybe that does make sense. It can remind you to water your plants on a normal interval. I don't know how fast it will, if it will be fast enough, let's say. Okay, so interesting that it also uses the same normal date syntax you would see in a note file. Howm, deadline, extend deadlines, date, forward. Is there a way to insert these? Find today. Okay, right. That's really interesting, actually. So, Howm simulate to do. Time machine simulation. Well, it's not giving me a buffer for that, maybe because I don't have any tasks yet. Let's try this. So that's kind of weird. How do you insert a new date? Okay, here we go. Control C, semicolon D. Great. Oh, and here we go. Look. Control C, semicolon D. It gives you a little prompt at the bottom. I don't know why it killed it so fast, though. Control C, semicolon D. And then you could say certain things like number shift, like 5. Press +5. We'll set that for Christmas, let's say, 1225. All right, fine. I'm going to do the little bobbing up and down thing. Don't forget to read your email. Let's do that Howm simulate to do now. Okay, now it does show up. It gives me this, don't forget to read your email. And it is a task listing that would show up. So I think that you can pull up this task listing at any time anyway. Howm. Let's go to Howm menu. Not for today, no. T for to do. Okay, there we go. So we got the list of all to dos apparently, and those are sorted using the right criteria, let's say. So let's create another one that's a deadline. Maybe I want to create a deadline for this one. So Control C, colon D, and then dot for today, and then I'm going to say exclamation point for deadline. Buy milk. Okay. Then Control C, semicolon T for the task list, and buy milk shows up at the top. So this basically is, it's kind of like an agenda view in the sense that it gives you a listing of all your tasks. Apparently it's organized based on the file that the task is in. You can kind of see what the date was where it was created. It would be nice if you could see the title of the file too. I don't know if there's a way to change that, but it would be nice if you could see the title of the file as well. Press Q to exit the simulation or even the to-do list. That's fine. Cool. How are we doing here on time? Yeah, we're a little bit late, but let's see. Anything else specifically useful? Fine-tuning and tweaking tasks. Yeah, you can change tasks using that menu we saw before. Short commands and Howm lists. Advanced settings. You can customize certain aspects of Howm. So a lot of this stuff can be customized. It's good to go through the customization menu. Advanced settings. Oh, we saw that already. So questions and concerns. I think there's some tips somewhere. I saw a section that had tips. Is it this one? Yeah, so there's tips for configuration here. There's a concept of a menu file. I want to know what that's for, though. Anyway, so let's just recap. Howm is a simpler approach to managing links between nodes. I think it's kind of interesting the way that it operates, because I think you can very easily create bespoke information and task management systems in the notes without having to go to the trouble of creating like topic notes and other things of that nature. Like when I was trying to create a more elaborate system for knowledge and task management in Denote, I was creating a bunch of topic note files and linking things to topic notes and looking at the backlinks of those and like creating org D blocks to look at the backlinks. And I actually stopped doing that after a while because of all the work involved. Like I actually had to write more Emacs lists to automate some of these parts of the process. And I felt that it was too much friction for me to actually continue working in that system that I was making for myself. What I'm seeing here is something that would allow me to do what I was trying to do much more simply, because that is the core model for how things get done. Instead of having links between notes and then a listing of backlinks between notes, you have links that are search queries themselves. When you click on them, you get a file listing that has all the references to a given link, the right arrow links, so you can easily find all the places where a specific concept has been mentioned. There's also the keyword concept, where it sort of goes in the opposite direction, where you can have a concept be treated as a tag effectively, or a keyword that can bring you to all the related notes. That also could be useful. I don't really know how I would use both of those differently, but it is something worth looking into. But as far as at least having your own kind of organization and indexes for your knowledge, I think that Howm could be pretty compelling. Now, the task management functionality is not as elaborate as what you see in Org Mode. However, I do think that there's something to it. I would actually like to try using it for a while because it seems really simple. And it might actually help me to remember things that I need to do. Periodic tasks, or there's recurring tasks in there too, but I didn't get a chance to look at those. But there's periodic tasks that don't really need to be on a specific schedule, but you need to be reminded of them. Things for that, like, cleanup tasks or maintenance tasks that you might need to do, or, making sure that you do actually start working on certain tasks at a certain date. So I don't know. I think there's something to it. I want to try to play around with it a bit more and see what I could come up with in terms of my own workflow for it. Because I feel like there's some gems here that can be uncovered. And I think that's why people are kind of gaining an interest in this again recently, is that there's something to it. Mark says, can you mark a task as done, or does the file have to be deleted? No, you can definitely mark a task as done. There is a way to do that. Let's see. Where is it? There's a special syntax where you put a date in front of another task. Let's do it let's do it right here. Control C, semicolon, D, and then put a period there. I think it treats this as a task that's complete. So if I were to pull up the task listing, yeah, it gets treated as done now. Like that deadline task now has a value of 0. So it's not, let's see, done. Done. Trying to find it. There we go. No, that's not it. Wait. If you press return again, the case will be considered complete and its display will change. The sign at the end of the case is a period. Automatically, Howm adds a date of the finale. This way you can have a handy tool to analyze your progress. I don't know. Simplified syntax as well. Place a notation somewhere. Hit a dot there. That way you know the case is at an end. Other possible outcome is the plan is canceled. It's not okay to keep up with everything. In the mini buffer dialog, press the X key. Notation cancel will remind you that the task is not yet complete. Let's try this. I think that Control-C, D. No. What was that? Howm date. No. Howm, what was it called? I think this is fine tuning, right? Where is it? Oh, you just press enter. Oh, I thought, yeah, press enter on the task. Then dot. Oh. Wait. To fulfill or abandon the plan, position the cursor on the symbol after the square bracket and press return. Oh. So go to the exclamation point, press enter. Return is done, X is cancel. Symbol type, num laziness. I don't know what that's about, but if I press enter again, it automatically adds the stuff that I need. Okay, cool. So there's an extra colon here as well. So if we go to the task list, Control-C, semicolon T, still, excuse me, still shows up, but it's not like marked as a deadline anymore. All right, so that's it. That's how you complete a task, is that you just use a special return on that the exclamation point. These links in the buffers are pretty necessary for this to work. So you hit that, and then you can use X for cancel, so the cancel task. So it gives you some extra metadata. What about num? 5? What does that even mean? Laziness. How lazy you were that you didn't do it. Symbol type. Percent? I don't know. Oh, to change the type. Okay, so tilde. Okay, you can change the type of the task by pressing the symbol character. All right. I think we got it, right? I was going through my conclusions. Glenna says, are recurring events able to be set? Yes, we just didn't have time to look at them. Let's see. Is it possible to use it with org agenda? Definitely not, Alejandro. I don't think that it would do. It would not work in the same way as org agenda. So this is a completely separate workflow and process and interface, but it's really streamlined. So I feel like it may have its own value. I really need to try it out for a while to see if it works better. Obviously, with org agenda, you can slice and dice all your tasks in any number of ways. I wonder if it's possible to constrain the Howm task list based on any notes that are tagged in a specific way. That would be an interesting thing to look at, comparable to org agenda. But at least I think the idea is not to do that, and to let the functionality of, or the characteristics of different types of tasks surface things for you, and not try to organize things too much. So I think that's the idea in Howm. Anyway. Is it possible to make some sort of overlap between org mode and Howm? I think that you could just use the org mode syntax to write documents in org mode, but it seems like the Howm syntax kind of like goes against org a little bit, but maybe it's possible to do both at the same time. But I wouldn't, though. I think I might try to do one or the other. The other downside of this is that the syntax will not be exported correctly from org. So if you're trying to take your notes and turn them into a document at some point, then all this extra Howm syntax in there is going to not translate over well. So I don't exactly know what the right solution is for that yet. Maybe it's better to just use plain text files and not org files, or maybe markdown files, but it's hard to know for sure. I need to experiment to see, but I'm kind of curious to do it, so I might play around with some. So my conclusion so far is that Howm is quite interesting. I'm interested to experiment and see what I can come up with it. I don't know if it's going to replace Denote for me. It's likely that it won't, but it might actually smooth out some of the rough spots that I have in my Denote workflow and my org task workflow that I didn't really know that I had. It also might be easier to use this on mobile in certain ways, like Emacs on mobile. So I would be interested to try that as well. When I say Emacs on mobile, I mean Emacs in Termux, or even the Android build of Emacs, but I'm using Emacs and Termux primarily. I actually do use it pretty often, surprisingly enough. Okay, folks. I hope that was interesting and useful. Cal says pandoc f Howm to org. No, I don't think that works. I hope this was useful to you. Leave a note in the comments if you have any other ideas for how Howm could be used in interesting ways. And let me know if you're interested in seeing more about it. I can make a video about it at some point once I kind of digest the model better and understand it better. And thank you all for being here. Like I said, no stream next week, so happy holidays to everybody. I hope you have a great time over the holiday festivities, whichever holidays you celebrate. And until next time, happy hacking. See ya.